Welcome back. Now, the government of Togo has honored the Nigerian-born president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Adesina, with the highest honor to a civilian in recognition of Adesina and the bank's contribution to agriculture in the small West African state. The Togolese honoring of Adesina comes about a year after he was awarded the World Food Prize laureate for 2017 in Iowa, United States. Joining us now from Abidjan, the headquarters of the AfDB, is the bank's Director of Communication, Dr. Victor Oladokun. Good afternoon, and thank you for coming through to us on the show.
Thank you for having me. It's a great pleasure.
Right, so what are some of the key initiatives that the AfDB is implementing in Togo, and why is this important to this small economy in West Africa?
Well, it may be a small economy, but I believe it's going to be a giant in agriculture in the years to come. What has happened in the last couple of years is that Dr. Adesina has taken quite a number of the experiences that he had while he was Minister of Agriculture in Nigeria and brought a lot of those lessons not just to Togo, but quite a number of other countries. But specifically in Togo, what he's been able to do, working with the government there, is to develop, very similar to what was created in Nigeria, the e-wallet, which provided seeds and fertilizers to farmers through their mobile phones, thereby cutting out the middlemen. He's been able to, with the support of the bank, been able to replicate that in Togo through a system that's called AgriEME. And this is a system that has already reached is estimated to reach 244,000 farmers by the end of this year, but also already increase the production of maize by 30,000 metric tons. In addition, he has spearheaded what we're calling, well, what Togo calls PRODAT, and that is a system, it's a staple crop processing zone, and 10 of these will be created across the country over the next 10 years to, again, accelerate agricultural production in the country. But significantly, the last few days, I'm glad to report that the bank has brought before or helped launch in Togo what is called MIFA, Mécanisme Indicatif de Financement Agricole. And this is, again, very similar to what the president created when he was Minister of Agriculture in Nigeria. In Nigeria, it's called NERSAL, and this is a de-risking instrument which he co-developed with then Central Bank Governor, now Emir of Kano Sanusi, to help de-risk agriculture in the country. So NERSAL is, again, supporting this initiative in Togo, and the president has fully backed this, as well as African Development Bank. So we're very proud of this, and also excited about the tremendous opportunities that agriculture transformation or the agricultural transformation that is taking place in Togo at the moment. So these, again, I guess the cumulative result of that is the honor that was bestowed on Dr. Adesina in the last few days.
All right, the AfDB president, of course, being honored severally for his works, past and present. Now, what critical game-changing policies, processes and actions has he really brought into AfDB since he took office about 3 years ago?
That's a great question. Actually, quite a number. The first thing he did was to restructure the bank. And again, that's across systems, across staff, across structures. And that has been a really a major initiative. Secondly, has been to take the social development goals, condense those into 5, which we call the high fives. And these are lighting up and powering Africa, feeding Africa, industrializing Africa, integrating Africa, and above all, improving the lives of Africans. So this really is what drives everything that the bank does. There are 2 major initiatives for youth empowerment. One of those is Jobs for Youth Africa, which is designed to create 25 million jobs for youth in Africa over the next 10 years. The Presidential Youth Advisory Group, which has brought together young African entrepreneurs, 9 of them, advise the bank on what it can do to best support youth employment across Africa. But I think one of the biggest game changers that the bank and the president has introduced to the stage is what we're calling the Africa Investment Forum, and that's going to take place in Johannesburg, November 7th to 9th. And this is going to be a major game changer for how it is that we support infrastructure in Africa. Right now, Africa has a deficit of $100 to $180 billion in terms of infrastructure investment. So this initiative in Johannesburg in November is designed to bring together key players in the public sector, private sector, and the finance worlds together to support banking projects and bring on stream projects that have remained dormant prior to now. So these, just in a nutshell, are some of the things that the president, that Dr. Adesina has been able to push in the last 2 years of being president of the bank. And again, we're proud of this and excited about how many of these initiatives will be game changers across the continent.
All right, we thank you for your time today, Dr. Victor Ladoku, the Director of Communications at the African Development Bank in Abidjan.
Thank you very much for having me.
And Volkswagen today launched a car assembly facility in Rwanda, the first such factory in the East African nation, as Europe's biggest car maker expands its presence in the region. Car ownership remains low in the nation of 12 million people, with just over 200,000 private cars registered since 1997, and that's according to the country's tax collection body. But Volkswagen, which already builds vehicles in nearby Kenya, hopes not just to sell vehicles, but for them to also be used in an Uber-like car sharing system where people will use their smartphones to book rides. The German automaker said in January that initially plans to build up to 5,000 cars per year, beginning with the Polo and Passat models. And Sudan and South Sudan have agreed on a deal to double oil output from South Sudanese fields by the end of the year. The agreement aims to increase output at the Falju oil field to 180,000 barrels per day from the current 127,000. South Sudan said in January 2017 it aimed to double its output but did not achieve that. The African country has been hit by years of civil war, which erupted in 2013, less than 2 years after it gained independence from Sudan. South Sudan's warring factions met in Khartoum this week in an attempt to reach a peace deal. And Vodafone's Ghana business plans to list on the local stock market after restructuring its loans. Vodafone is in talks with the West African country, which owns a 30% stake, to restructure its debt. The world's largest mobile group by revenue paid $900 million for a 70% stake in state-run Ghana Telecom in 2008, while the government retained the remaining 30%, with an enterprise value of around $1.3 billion at the time. And that's the wrap on the show for today. Thank you very much for watching. I'm Chimezi Obi Iwabu.